My sister is like the only pure white jasmine in the entertainment world. To keep her pure and spotless, I didn't hesitate to shield her when a director and a movie star tried to drag her into a room. In the end, they tortured me to death, but then, my sister turned around and accepted their so-called compensation and goodwill, grabbing all the resources to become a movie queen adored by countless fans. It was only after I died that I realized I was just a stepping stone in this high-drama novel, and my sister used my misfortune to rise as the lead character. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day my sister insisted on going to audition for a film. This time, when the director and the star subtly hinted at their intentions, and my sister, with tears in her eyes, begged me for help, I chose differently. When they violently pulled me into the room, I heard a bang as my sister was locked outside. Immediately, a flood of pain washed over me like a blizzard, beginning a relentless torture that left me unable to scream, as my eyes lost focus. Through the electric shock, I trembled and vision of my sister's composed, dignified figure flickered before me. I knew too well the hidden deals of the entertainment industry. My sister Fiona had the image of being the purest white jasmine. If any scandal with men were to touch her, her career would be over. So I took the fall when the director and the film star threatened her. The moment I was in agony, tears flowed uncontrollably, but a relieved smile crept upon my face. That's good, they'll have to let her go now. Barely a week after my death, my spirit lingered near Fiona. What happened next shocked me deeply. The director and the film star never thought I'd die. They threatened Fiona to keep silent and privately dealt with my body. She agreed tearfully, without seeking justice for me. Why? It turned out they promised her top resources, scenes with the movie star, and to elevate her into a leading actress role. From then on, the sister I thought was driven and hardworking chose to abandon self-reliance entirely. It crushed me. What was the point of sacrificing myself for her? Perhaps my attachment ran too deep. My spirit never left her side and saw her rise to international fame using those resources, with millions of fans cheering for her. Later, a reporter discovered she had a sister and asked her about it publicly. Without hesitation, she replied, expressionless, "I'm sorry, I'm an only child." At that moment, my heart shattered, and I bled tears of despair. Unable to move on, I lingered in limbo until the Lord of Hell, sick of watching, tossed me a book. It showed that I was the disposable supporting character in this strong female lead story, and Fiona had advanced by treading over my sacrifices. How ironic. I used my life to protect someone who wouldn't even acknowledge me, yet she fulfilled her dreams over my blood and tears, living in luxury. How could I not hate? How could I be content? The last second before losing consciousness, I swore never to let this happen again. If I had another chance, I'd make them pay for everything they owe me. I jolted awake from the nightmare. That feeling of my soul vanishing and that bone-deep pain still hung over me. But when I opened my eyes, I found I wasn't dead. Instead, I was back on the day Fiona insisted on going to the film set for an audition. Right then, Fiona came over, holding her phone with a pout. "Jane, look, the director and the lead actor want me to go for an interview at a villa. It feels fishy, though." I quietly watched her, this seemingly pure, innocent little flower. If it weren't for reincarnation, I might have believed her again. "Jane, why aren't you saying anything?" "Sorry, what did you say again?" I forced a smile, suppressing the bitterness within. Fiona's face fell, worried. "Jane, what do I do? They said if I don't go, they'd join forces to blacklist me in the industry. In the past life, I stopped her from going. No one does an audition at a private place, it's a trap. But when I did, she blamed me for not supporting her dreams. This time, I'd do it differently. She could choose her own path. I don't know. I'm not in the industry. No idea what's really going on." Fiona glanced at me, bewildered. "Jane, I'm scared they might bully me. Can you come with me?" That's what she would always say, and in my old life, I was a crazed protector, always agreeing. But not this time. I have things to do. I'm busy preparing for an exam. My written scores were strong, and with a bit of prep, I could secure a position. Growing up, our family favored boys, abandoning me and Fiona after we were born. Never knew our mom. The village folks said she was kicked out for not birthing a son. In school, I aced everything while Fiona always dreamed of becoming an actress, even wanting to drop out for auditions. Each time, I pulled her back, helped her study, and got her into college. Though she's the elder, I've always shouldered the older sibling's role, protecting and caring for her. Whenever our drunk, abusive father lashed out, I shielded her. In the end though, I was the biggest joke. So now, being reborn, I am no longer focusing on Fiona, but on building my own future. Stunned, Fiona asked, When did you decide to take the civil service exam? If you pass, what about me? Didn't you promise to be my assistant? She reminded me of things I had almost forgotten. In my previous life, I did say I would become her assistant and take care of her forever. Just as I was about to take the test, I thought, aren't you about to become the best actress? By then, you could hire 10 assistants, no problem. Fiona was about to say something, but I already lowered my head to read. Soon, she walked out of my room. Thinking about what was going to happen next, I clenched my teeth with hatred. Scenes from my past life kept playing over and over in my head. I threw myself into studying even harder, eager to soak all the knowledge into my memory. In this life, I'm going to make my own path and seek revenge for the tragic end I met in my past life. After finishing my review, I checked the location on my phone. Fiona had indeed gone to see the director and the leading actor. Even though she's my biological sister, I don't want her to repeat her mistakes, no matter how much I want revenge. So, I used a voice changer to anonymously tip off the paparazzi. I had some big news. Carter was meeting a beauty at North Wing, West Hill. Carter, the leading actor, was a big star. Many paparazzi wanted any juicy gossip about him. The tabloid didn't believe me and called me crazy. I was speechless. How stupid to pass up such a chance. So, I turned around and contacted the director's wife. With the secrets I'd learned in my past life following Fiona, I easily convinced her that her husband was meeting a beauty at North Wing, West Hill. She cursed loudly, not for the first time it seemed. She hung up in a hurry, but what I didn't see coming was how intense the director's wife was. Not only did she confront him, but she also called in professional paparazzi. Suddenly, the paparazzi started a live stream. Netizens quickly swarmed the broadcast, eager to see the scoop firsthand. I sat in on the live stream, watching as the viewer count skyrocketed to over 1 million. The show was about to start. I curled my lips into a smile. Then, on the switch of a live camera, I saw one of my arch enemies, director Walter. He was the one who delivered that last shock. The memory is seared into me, I'll never forget. Suddenly, a sharp, bitter woman's voice rang out, Walter's wife, furiously shouting, "Dare to bring women home. You've got some nerve. I'm gonna kill you, you no good cheat." The live feed's comment section initially thought it was just a notorious director having a rendezvous at home, but no one saw it coming. Immediately after, top star Carter also appeared in the frame. His shirt was off. He hadn't had time to put it on. The viewers exploded with speculation about who the leading lady could be. In the next moment, the camera turned again. Suddenly, it was enough to shake the whole internet, and I stood up from my seat, completely shocked. How could this be? The leading lady's face turned out to be. It wasn't Fiona. It was her agent, Luna. Ridiculous. How could it be her? In my previous life, Fiona and Luna were close like sisters. In the past, it was most definitely Fiona. How did it suddenly become Luna? Where did things go off the rails? I slumped back into my chair. Flashes of Fiona and Luna together, after I became a ghost swirling in my mind. Luna wasn't just Fiona's agent, she was her best friend. I didn't dare act impulsively. Something seemed different from my past life. Thankfully, it didn't change the overall outcome. The whole internet erupted, turning into a hot topic. Carter and famous director meets renowned beauty agent. Carter's scandal. Director's wife Nancy's true identity. Walter being beaten by his wife. Facebook was full of this unfolding drama. Carter's agency issued an urgent statement. They feebly explained that Carter was dedicating himself to art, discussing the storyline with the director, and that Fiona's agent, Luna, was there for collaboration, not what it seemed during the live. I was disgusted. All for the sake of art, huh? They really pulled every possible excuse for Carter, even when the live stream caught it all. They are still trying to spin it into some hardworking image. Luna also rushed out a statement. She clearly said she was arranging work for one of her female artists at the villa, and that Fiona had secured the lead role in Walter's next film, contrary to live stream perceptions. Netizens were half convinced. Some quickly dug up Luna's old Facebook posts. She frequently posted about being an independent, strong woman on Facebook. Now, every declaration of empowerment she'd ever made was mocked. Oh, did you sleep your way to work? Independent woman, huh? Are you? If you're dependent on a man, don't talk about these topics. Pathetic, just like Carter and Walter. Sis, don't listen to them. Carter's explanation stands. These online trolls just won't believe. I believe in you and support you forever. Seeing that comment, I almost wanted to reach through the screen and see if the person's brain was made of mush. Meanwhile, director Walter still hadn't released any statement on Facebook, probably busy being beaten by his wife. If I remember correctly, his wife's quite the tough one, too. This incident finally helped me vent some of my pent-up frustration. Carter's reputation took a hit, Walter got publicly humiliated, and Luna took the fall in Fiona's place. But strangely, Fiona wasn't there. She somehow shook off all suspicion, and even got the lead in this film. Even though I know Fiona's true nature, I felt a tiny sense of relief seeing she didn't end up as miserably as she did in my past life. Maybe it's because, between us, there remains a singular blood bond. When Fiona got home again, I heard her shouting my name, creating all kinds of noise. But inside, I felt nothing, just focused on studying. Fiona wasn't her usual icy self though. The moment she saw me, tears filled her eyes and a smile appeared on her pretty face. She ran over, both crying and laughing. I was puzzled and instinctively frowned, but Fiona ignored my reaction and just rushed over to hug me tightly. She leaned on my shoulder, and soon I felt this warm, wet sensation on my neck, like tears rolling down. She was crying, calling my name over and over, completely thrilled. "Jane, it feels so good. I finally did it." I stood there stiffly, raised my hand halfway, then decided not to pat her back as comfort. During these years of my wandering soul, I lost touch with what family affection feels like. My heart felt dead, just a shell remained. I sighed, stepped back a bit. Fiona wiped her tears, a forced smile on her face. "Why are you crying? Aren't you happy to get the lead role?" Fiona shook her head, her eyes on me, unusually bright. "I'm so happy that I just had to hug you and cry. In the past, when I heard she nailed an audition, I'd be excited with her. But now, I've seen through everything. I'm no longer the naive person I was in my past life. No wonder she's so happy she got the role." Seeing my cold, unexcited demeanor, Fiona's expression stiffened, a strange look crossing her face. She stared at me intently, word by word. "Jane, aren't you happy for me? Today, you're so strange." As her voice trailed off, I turned to face her incredibly deep eyes, full of scrutiny. My heart jolted. Quickly, I turned back around and sat at the dining table. Images from my past life kept circling in my mind, of her with Walter. Back then, she did whatever it took for resources. So is she planning the same path now? I forced a stiff smile. "Happy? Of course, I'm happy. Isn't this what you've always wanted? I'm sure you'll be a movie queen in no time. Just like in our past life, stepping over my dead body to become the movie queen you desired." The more I wanted to create distance between us, the more Fiona came close. That night, she suddenly showed up in my room with a blanket. Putting down my book, I asked, all confused, "What are you doing?" Fiona ignored my question, made herself comfortable on my bed. She even asked me to move aside, taking up half the bed and sprawled across. "Jane, I want to sleep with you tonight." Fiona has always hated close physical contact with others, including me, her sister. But this time, she was being completely different, taking the initiative to sleep on my bed. Things seemed more and more off course, and I couldn't help but ask, "Don't you hate being close to others?" Fiona had turned her back, so I could only see her silhouette, but I heard her softly say, "But you're not just anyone." If I recall correctly, we began sleeping separately when we started staying in dorms from middle school. I used to cling to my sister, asking her to share her bed. Fiona always found it annoying, but gave in. Now, her voluntarily coming close made me suspicious of her intentions. "Jane, do you remember when we were little and shared a bed? In the summer, we'd make a bed on the floor in the courtyard. You wouldn't sleep at night, keeping mosquitoes away from me. I loved sweets and got bitten by mosquitoes all over, and you'd get mint leaves to rub on me." I felt irritated, being reminded of how good I was to her back then. In my past life, when she didn't save me and claimed to be an only child, did she ever think of my kindness? Anger surged, and I couldn't help but cut her off. "Fiona, are you sleeping or not? It's late, and you've talked enough." The room fell silent instantly, the night outside even darker. On the first night, after I was reborn, sleep wouldn't come. Memories of being forcibly dragged into a room and tortured in my past life played in my mind. Although those scars were gone, the pain felt as real and sharp. I trembled with a hatred so deep, teeth gritted, shivering all over, hating their cruel torture, hating Fiona's betrayal. Suddenly, Fiona turned and hugged me, warmth spreading through me instantly. Snapping back to reality, I turned my head to see her. She lay on my pillow, staring at me with those sparkly eyes. With a serious face, she said, "Jane, don't be unhappy. When I make money, I'll take care of you. I'll work hard so you won't have to endure the hardships of the past." I turned away coldly, pushing her off. Her words didn't move me at all. It was fake. I remembered everything and wouldn't forget. Later, she really did what she said, earned a lot, and gained her status. But I was no longer in her life. She just ruthlessly discarded me, claiming her only child status. Fiona never used to talk about such things. She found it silly. She always said, "Why dwell on such old stuff? Gotta look ahead." But now, she kept bringing up these past memories. I couldn't help but wonder if my rebirth really caused the story to change. In the next few days, I kept preparing for exams, and whatever Fiona kept doing was none of my business. Everything seemed calm until the day Fiona was informed about the film's shooting schedule. She rushed over and insisted I go to the set with her. I looked up in shock, staring at Fiona with surprise written all over my face. But she wasn't joking. She blinked seriously. "Jane, just come with me. You can look out for me if something happens, right? Haven't you always doted on your sister the most?" I couldn't help but let out a self-deprecating laugh. So that's what she'd been up to these days. Silly me for thinking she might have changed. Not like in the past life, where she always used me as a shield. Guess old habits die hard. In the end, she still hoped I'd sacrifice for her without question. I used studying as an excuse and straight up refused her. But Fiona kept pestering me, determined to convince me. Then I thought about it a bit, and my thirst for revenge started brewing again. If I joined the crew, I might gather some dirt on Carter and Walter, slowly collect it and strike precisely when the time is right. With everyone watching on set, there's nothing they can do to me. Plus, I had a lot of goodies prepared for them in advance, so I ended up agreeing. Fiona seemed really happy, and she turned around to start packing in a rather unusual manner. Not only did she not ask for help packing her things, but she also folded my clothes and even brought along the books I wanted to read. I watched all of Fiona's actions closely. I couldn't help but frown. Something strange was definitely going on. What was she up to? When we got to the set, Fiona and I sat together at the filming site. She read her script while I read a book. Suddenly, I felt someone's eyes burning into me. Instinctively, I looked up and locked eyes with Carter. The way he looked at me was extremely creepy, deep, as if sizing up prey. I couldn't help but crumple the page of my book under my grip as I suppressed the nausea, bowing my head pretending not to notice and waited for the right opportunity. Soon enough, Fiona went to rehearse a scene with a supporting character, leaving me alone. That's when a woman approached. I recognized her. She was Carter's assistant in my past life. "Miss Fiona, your sister told me to let you know she needs you to get her costume from the dressing room. She needs it urgently." The dressing room, perfect. Carter chose a good spot for this. My eyes gleamed, and I couldn't help but smirk a little before hiding it. Then, acting like a naive college girl, I quietly followed the assistant while discreetly starting the voice recording on my phone. Just as I suspected, as soon as I walked into the dressing room, Carter was there, and he told the assistant to go guard the door. Once she was out, it was just Carter and me in the room. "Mr. Carter, I'm just here to grab my sister's costume," I said casually. Carter suddenly walked towards me. Instantly, I was hit by a familiar sickly perfume scent. It was exactly like the one I smelled the night I died, a stench that turned my stomach. Carter looked at me, raising an eyebrow with an unsettling smirk. "You're Jane, right?" "Jane, I heard you and your sister don't get along so well. It's like you're enemies. Why don't you stay with me? I'll make sure you're set for life." As he spoke, he reached out to pull me close. I hardened my expression, dodging his advance, watching his handsome face morph into something monstrous. Even his breath was repulsive. "Jane, don't be scared. I just think you're just as attractive as your sister, with a great body. You two look so similar. How about becoming her double? I can't have her, but having you would be just fine." I ground my teeth in resentment, my eyes burning with fury. Before I could retort, Carter, deluded, assumed my silence was agreement, leaning in for a kiss. I turned my head, stepping back to evade him, and moved out of the camera's sight range at the door. Carter closed in again, his face twisted, his smile menacing. I let out a cold laugh. He stupidly thought his prey was within reach, not knowing I was fully prepared. Seizing the moment, I grabbed a mini taser from my pocket and struck with a powerful zap. Sparks flew in the air. Carter's face contorted, his muscles twitched violently, eyes wide, whole body stiff as a board. He seemed to be suffocating, gasping heavily. I shoved him to the ground forcefully, looking down at him. I moved quickly, and Carter hadn't even seen the taser before he was powerless. To ensure he felt it all, I had already cranked the taser's level to maximum. This was a modified taser, 10 times more potent than a regular one. Then, I kicked him in the stomach, watching as he grimaced in pain, face twisted, sweat dripping down his forehead. But even this couldn't quell my rage. I scoffed. "Carter, how's it feel to be tasered? Not good, right? I had endured this for a whole 3 hours back then, every second 1,000 times more painful than what he felt. It's still not enough. Seeing him unable to get up isn't satisfying. He should never stand again, live his life as a cripple. After all, isn't living worse than dying more flavorful? So, I extended the taser into a dual nunchuck, sparking with electricity again. Carter visibly recoiled in horror, trembling and moving back. But I kept closing in, leaving him nowhere to escape. Just as I was about to strike with the nunchucks, I heard hurried footsteps accompanied by calls of Jane. Fiona was coming. I glanced at Carter, who was scrambling to his feet, brushing off the dust, fixing his clothes. What a joke. Even now, he cared about appearances. Well, maybe it's for the best to save it for later, and get some revenge. I discreetly tucked the electric baton back into my sleeve. Just then, Fiona walked in and caught Carter fixing his clothes. In an instant, her expression darkened, and a massive wave of hatred filled her eyes. Before Carter could even speak, Fiona slapped him hard across the face. I raised an eyebrow, surprised. She wasn't like this in our past life. Fiona stood in front of me, her tone fierce and icy, glaring at him. Carter, if you so much as touch her, I'll ruin you completely. You wanna try me? I looked at Fiona, struggling to comprehend. My body felt warm, dispelling the rage I felt earlier. I was utterly shocked. My heart ached a bit at that moment. Or maybe I was doubting, shocked, but mostly confused by her protective stance, overwhelmed with mixed emotions. Before I could react, Fiona grabbed my hand. Her warm palm felt comforting, almost like being a child again, but only for an instant. I couldn't forget what Fiona did in our past life. Why was she protecting me now? I followed Fiona out of the set. My mind was a mess, replaying her defending me. Fiona wasn't the same as before. She was more humane now. But why did she rush to protect me like that? Looking at our joined hands, I held back my tears and bit my lip. Then, she suddenly let go, turned, and glared at me. Jane. Fiona frowned, her delicate face full of anger. Do you have a brain? Did all those years of school teach you nothing? Do you even know why he called you? Do you know how worried I was when you disappeared after the shoot? Her words sounded familiar, just like something I'd have said in the past life, when I scolded her. Now, she did seem like a sister, even though I wouldn't meddle in Fiona's business anymore. I wouldn't let Carter and Walter get away with it either. So, I sent Fiona the recording. That finally calmed her down, and she said I wasn't totally stupid. In the days that followed, Fiona went to film and didn't let me go along. She was afraid Carter would target me, instructing me to stay home and not wander around. Meanwhile, she lived a routine life, back and forth between home and work. That evening, shortly after she got home, her assistant called. She put it on speaker, and I could hear what the assistant was saying. The assistant urgently informed her to go to the hotel for an important film crew discussion. After the call, Fiona changed clothes and hurried out. Soon, the room went silent. When I finished learning new stuff and came out, it was already dark outside. How could a meeting last for hours? I suddenly remembered Walter's reputation for being decisive about script meetings. How could he call one so late after filming had started? We'd been on set for a while now. How could Fiona not know? I wasn't sure if she was going there on purpose like in our past life. Remembering how meddling got me in trouble last time, I quickly calmed down. But then, my eyes caught sight of strawberries on the table, and I paused. I remembered when I was 7, coming home from school with Fiona. We passed a strawberry field, and those ripe strawberries were too tempting, so I picked 2. The field had cameras, and I got both of us caught. The owner contacted my dad, and my dad could be brutal, so I was scared to death, crying and trembling. Unexpectedly, when we got home, Fiona, who I dragged down with me, took the blame herself and got severely beaten. She was covered in bruises, lying weakly on the bed, pale-faced. I was terrified she'd die, crying my eyes out. But rather than blaming me, Fiona pretended it didn't matter and comforted me. As the memories flooded back, I hesitated. That was the only time she ever helped me. In the end, I couldn't help but reach for my phone, wanting to text Fiona and warn her about the danger. But as I unlocked my phone, a new entertainment news notification popped up. Fiona and Carter were the main focus. My heart raced, and I quickly opened it. In the video, a swarm of media crowded the hotel room, snapping photos of Fiona and Carter. The camera caught Carter looking panicked, hiding behind Fiona. Then, like he had a thought, Carter faced the camera again. It was her. Carter pointed directly at Fiona. She seduced me. She lured me to the hotel. Fiona, you act so innocent, but I see right through you. You'd do anything for fame. Clearly, this person was just as petty as in the past life. He was setting Fiona up. Right now, her status and fame were no match for his. Saying she plotted to get close to him for fame seemed totally believable. If she couldn't refute this, Carter would have her reputation ruined on the spot. She'd be unable to show her face in the entertainment industry, and even as a regular person, she'd be labeled as conniving. But Fiona faced the camera with calm certainty, telling everyone to check Facebook. She released proof. It was chat records of him and the director from that day in West Hills North, threatening her on Instagram. Not only that, but she seemed prepared. She retrieved the hotel corridor's surveillance footage too. The footage clearly showed Carter making the first move. If that wasn't enough to prove things, Fiona posted on Facebook again. She released the audio I secretly recorded in the dressing room that day. The truth was out. Fiona raised an eyebrow and smirked at the camera. So, Mr. Best Actor, what exactly did I wrongfully accuse you of? 3 pieces of evidence, like Thor's mighty hammer, left Carter speechless. Seeing him on the brink of ruin, I couldn't help but feel a wave of satisfaction. I thought it was all over, but then, the police showed up fast and arrested Carter on the spot for allegedly forcing women. Carter was unwilling to accept it, staring fiercely at Fiona, but she just smiled slightly and admitted, "You guessed right, Carter. I'm the one who called the cops." And that was the end of that story. Fiona calmly took down the scumbag right in front of the media, and overnight, she gained millions of followers and a ton of attention from netizens. Everyone praised her for being independent, strong, and cool under pressure, a true friend to women. At this critical moment, Walter, who was in cahoots with Carter, couldn't retaliate against us anymore. Under the pressure from investors, the lead role in this drama naturally got recast. Everything happened so fast. It took me a minute to snap out of my shock and sort through my thoughts. If Luna showing up at the villa was just a fluke, then what about Carter's hammer of justice? Was that a coincidence too? No, absolutely not. Fiona had completely changed, almost like someone else was living in her body. Or, had she also been reborn? I covered my mouth in disbelief. Even if she really was reborn, trying to make it up to me in this life, what good is that? The stuff she did after I died in my past life, and what she said on that podium, I can never forget, nor forgive. I swallowed my questions and didn't ask her. In the days that followed, Fiona thrived in the entertainment industry. With my relentless effort, I finally ranked first, securing my future. It felt like I'd added another layer of protection to my path of revenge. When the results came out, Fiona dragged me to a restaurant to celebrate, and for once, I didn't refuse. She'd been busy, and I'd been preoccupied with exams. We hadn't sat down for a meal together in ages. In the restaurant, Fiona was clearly overjoyed. She hadn't supported me taking the civil service exam at first, but now she smiled with gratification. "Jane, congrats on getting in. I'm genuinely happy for you, walking a bright path. You can't end up trapped in the entertainment mud like I am. Thank goodness, I didn't drag you down this time. I did it." Fiona was so happy she cried. She lowered her head as big tears suddenly fell. It was like all her suppressed emotions burst out at once. I looked at her, puzzled. I remember in my past life, when I died, she didn't seem this devastated. Now she seemed like she was finally releasing everything she'd held in. I couldn't help but wonder, had she gone through a lot too? I held back my bitterness, sipping my drink. In the past, I would have cried with her, but not anymore, not even the urge to pass a tissue. After a few drinks, Fiona was clearly tipsy, a dreamy look in her eyes. She murmured softly, "Jane, I've finally met you again. This time, let me protect you, okay?" I flinched, my fingers twitching. Surprise, shock, disbelief, emotions swirled and overwhelmed me. Since being reborn, I hadn't felt this unsettled, but her words left me astounded. Turns out, Fiona really had been reborn too. So, everything she's done these days was deliberate. I didn't speak, but I lost my appetite. Fiona clung to me, crying non-stop. "Jane, sis missed you so much. Every night, I wake up from dreams of you crying, questioning why I didn't seek revenge, why I gave up on you." Why indeed? I looked into Fiona's tear-filled eyes, emotions spinning uncontrollably, as if pain had seeped in. She cried even harder. I sighed, guiding her out the door. And of course, just as we hit the hallway, we ran into Walter and his low-life friends. Seeing Fiona drunkenly leaning on me, Walter's eyes lit up. "Jane, looks like your sister's wasted. I'll give you two a lift home." I knew exactly what that creep was thinking. I flat out refused and tried to move past him with Fiona, but his friends blocked our way. One of them sneered, "Don't you know how lucky your sister is to catch Walter's eye? Why don't you take this luck for yourself?" I tried pushing them aside, but Walter grabbed my wrist. "Let me go." My stomach dropped. His fingers felt like claws on my wrist. He yanked both of us toward a private room. Lucky for me, I'd prepared a few tricks for Walter and Carter since the day I was reborn. Taking advantage of a distraction, I twisted my fingers, unhooking the ring blade from my index finger. In a flash, the sharp blade slashed at Walter. He howled in pain, turning pale. Blood pooled in his palm and flowed continuously. This strike of mine, light could spill blood, hard could reveal bone. Using force this time, he needed to rush to the hospital to stop the bleeding. Calmly, I hid the ring's blade, suppressing a grin. "You bitch, what did you do to me?" Walter yelled, swinging his other uninjured hand to slap me. Instinctively, I dodged. Suddenly, his arm was seized. It was Fiona. Even in her drunken haze, she wildly bit down on Walter's arm. Walter was in so much pain that sweat dripped off his forehead, and he let out a loud, deep growl. But dealing with a grown man wasn't that easy. He cursed and tried to break free from Fiona to take action again. Fiona, though, stood her ground, shielding me with intense anger burning in her eyes. The strong smell of alcohol on her wasn't pleasant, but somehow it made my eyes burn. Then out of nowhere, she delivered a swift kick right to Walter's groin. There was no way he could dodge it, and he cried out, curling up on the floor. As luck would have it, he ended up on his hands and knees. Fiona couldn't hold it back and vomited right in his face. Walter was disgusted, bent over, legs squeezed together as he rushed to the bathroom. "Fiona, you'll pay for this." Watching Walter's pathetic retreat, I almost burst out laughing. Yet, the resentment from my past life still lingered inside me. This kind of humiliation was nothing compared to what I faced before. Scumbags like him deserved to be disgraced and brought to justice. I felt a stir inside me, and I reached for the taser in my pocket, wanting to do something more. But Fiona suddenly sobered up, pulling me out of the restaurant. Once we got home, I was a bit worried about Fiona. She'd just kicked Walter in the family jewels in a drunken fit. He would definitely make things hard for her later. But Fiona sat in front of me, firm and serious, and said, "Don't worry. Justice might arrive late, but trust your sister. One day it'll be right on time." My heart skipped a beat. I wasn't sure what Fiona meant by that. Did she mean she would punish Walter, like Carter faced his fate? Or was she hinting that after my soul wandered in my past life, she'd eventually succeed and let justice come? That night, I tossed and turned. My dreams were a jumble of crazy plots. This is one heck of a drama, no time to catch your breath. The next morning, I saw it trending on Twitter. Sure enough, Walter struck back. He got a tabloid to release surveillance footage of Fiona going wild in the restaurant last night, attacking people. The part where he started harassing us first and blocking the way didn't make the cut. Just watching that bit, Walter looked like the victim here. He shamelessly presented a medical report, then went on Facebook, claiming Fiona had mental issues and wasn't fit to be in showbiz. Walter's a big-shot director. His lead in blacklisting affected some notable actors and directors, who reposted his statement. Even though Fiona had gained some popularity recently, she was only a C-list celeb. For those veterans in the industry, she was no match. Their credibility was much higher. On top of that, since Walter held the original video, he had the evidence, and we didn't. Fiona couldn't explain the situation, making her the target of online hate. Then, there were knocks on the door. Before I could get up, I heard our manager, Luna, outside. "Fiona, hurry up and apologize to Walter. He likes you. That's why he was trying to be nice. Don't you get it?" I saw Fiona making coffee in silence. Luna was getting angrier, her tone turning nastier. "Are you ignoring me now, Fiona? Just because you starred in one film, you think you're all that? You won't amount to much." Fiona placed the coffee in front of Luna. "Want some?" "And no, I never planned on becoming anything big." "Apologize." "Never happening." She emphasized it, firm and unyielding. "Not in this lifetime." Luna stormed off in rage, yelling, "You really think you're a big deal, huh? Acting all innocent. Fine, no apology. Then the company has no use for you. I'm ending your contract." I was shocked. This was Fiona's passion. How could she watch her budding career fall apart like this? Yet, she accepted it. After Luna stormed out, I stepped out of my room, ready to comfort her. But seeing me, Fiona smiled and comforted me instead. She declared, "It's okay. I've already lived the dream. Now I see being an actress isn't all that great. Perfect chance to quit. Plain is fine. From now on, as long as our sisters are healthy and happy, that's enough." She came over, eyes watery, and hugged me. "Jane, in this lifetime, I've decided not to marry or have kids. I just want us to rely on each other." I looked down, tears silently falling. Most of my old resentments faded away, except for when she said she was an only child in previous interviews. That hurt like a stab to the heart. But even if I weren't backing Fiona, I'd never let the one who killed me in a past life get away with it. Next, I dug through all of Walter's works. I found the patterns and made a list. What I found shocked me. His works all degraded and oppressed women, portraying them merely as baby makers. only glorifying male heirs while suggesting girls should be drowned. Not just that, women were depicted as being beaten down by men to show male dominance. It was all about demeaning and abusing women. Walter pushed his twisted views into his stories, imposing them on viewers, swaying their beliefs. After reading them all, I stayed up all night writing a 10,000-word critique, publicly accusing Walter of degrading female characters. The essay was piercing and sharply criticized Walter's negative societal impact as a director. People online really got behind me, and it spread like wildfire. Within days, someone dug up my personal info, found my exam scores from the official site, and posted them on Facebook. Folks checked out past candidates' scores and noticed I shattered the overall score record on my first try, leaving the second place way behind. Then, it was revealed that I'm Fiona's twin sister. The news exploded, and I ended up going viral. With all the attention, my real name report had a real impact. Authorities jumped in quickly, setting up an investigation to look into Walter. Public opinion flipped again. Viewers pieced things together and started guessing about what really happened in that video. Why did Fiona freak out on Walter, and why did she go for him specifically? Was there missing or edited footage? Who knows? As the tide was turning online, I took Fiona in disguise to the hospital for a mental evaluation. The results came back, and Fiona proved on Facebook that she had no mental issues at all. Conveniently, as we left the hospital, we ran into Walter's wife, Nancy. She was all smiles, saying, "I finally found you both. Can I buy you a cup of coffee?" I watched Nancy cautiously. After all, she was Walter's wife. There might be some conspiracy between them. Nancy laughed awkwardly when she saw how wary I was. "All right, I'll make it quick," she said. "Walter and I are divorced. No kids, no other ties. I know the crazy stuff he's done over the years. I've wanted to leave him for a long time, but never had the courage. Seeing you two stand up online inspired me to be brave too." In the cafe, Nancy laid everything out for us. Turns out, back when Walter was making a horror thriller movie, he killed someone for real for dramatic effect. He even paid off the family to keep it quiet. That movie blew up and made his career. Over the years, Nancy had been gathering dirt on him, including recorded evidence from the victim's family. We handed the evidence over to the police, and this time, Walter had nowhere to run. Walter's arrest made headlines instantly. After he was locked up, the restaurant owner came clean, releasing the unedited video from that night. Fiona became a symbol of standing up to power, no longer seen as some sweet innocent actress, but as an independent and strong lead. She got all these audition invites for international films, like she'd never received before. That night, I had a dream. I was back in that dark little room from my past life. Only now, I was just watching. Walter and Carter were the ones suffering, battered and begging for mercy at the door. I followed their gaze and saw those fierce, weathered eyes. It was Fiona from the past. She was directing bodyguards to make them experience a pain hundreds of times worse than mine before I died. I was stunned, my mind reeling. So, in the past life, her first act of success was avenging me. The dream stopped abruptly, and when I woke up, I rushed to Fiona's room, heart racing, ready to ask her straight up. But I found her deep in a phone call, looking serious. Swallowing my questions, I asked, "Sis, is something up?" Fiona hesitated a moment, glancing my way with complicated emotions. Softly, she said, "Jane, someone's asking for my help. She reminds me of myself when I was trapped, blacklisted. Lots of girls in this glamorous, cutthroat industry need help, right?" I nodded, seeing fear and worry in her eyes. "Yeah, but don't be afraid," I reassured her. Fiona shook her head, her dark hair partially covering her face, giving a bitter smile. "I'm not scared, but if I help, I'll make enemies. I'm not worried about my career, but I fear you might get hurt again." My heart tightened with a rush of warmth. Meeting her worried gaze, I grasped her hand firmly, assuring her, "Do what you think is right. I'm fine. Don't worry about me." Fiona's eyes lit up with determination. She studied me a moment, then smiled. "Okay, I'll follow your lead." Fiona told me she's invested a lot, hiring private investigators and top lawyers to gather evidence. It seems like things are moving fast now. Sure enough, we soon collected a stack of evidence and quietly found dozens of girls who were mistreated. Seeing Carter and Walter behind bars, and with Fiona offering to buy out contracts and introduce resources and audition opportunities, some girls agreed to testify in court. Now, with witnesses and evidence in hand, Fiona took her former agent and supposed friend, Luna, to court. Luna was absolutely furious. She didn't care about the judge's stare, as she shouted insults at Fiona in court. "You're so ungrateful. Who got you into this circle, and let you enjoy all this wealth and fame? Now you're famous and you just kick me to the curb. Fiona, is this how you treat someone who helped you?" Hearing these accusations, Fiona looked upset, but chose to keep silent. This whole scene reminded me of the past. Luna did help Fiona with some things, but I couldn't stay silent. Her righteous indignation was infuriating. I threw the evidence in front of her with a cold smirk on my face. Luna, do you want to see what you've done over the years? You've used your fame in the entertainment industry to trap innocent young girls, and you label yourself as an independent woman online, attracting these starry-eyed girls. At first, they trusted you wholeheartedly, just like Fiona did, but you tricked them into signing unfair contracts, packaged them, and forced them to get you resources. Luna, do you even feel the slightest bit guilty for what you've done now? You've made a fortune, but look at the damage you've done to these girls. As I finished speaking, I turned to look at the girls in the courtroom audience. My heart ached with a sadness I couldn't suppress. It turned out, I wasn't the only victim in this dark industry. In places I couldn't even see, they were oppressed, unable to fight back. Now, right before my eyes, they were all painfully thin. Their spirits and conditions were awful. Even beneath their makeup, you could see the exhaustion. When they looked at Luna, their eyes were filled with hatred. The torture they've endured wasn't easy to bear. I've experienced it myself. While the body can be treated, mental scars are much harder to heal. With undeniable evidence, Luna finally confessed. To reduce her sentence, she exposed her accomplices and the hidden forces in the entertainment industry behind her schemes. Everyone involved in this dark chain would be caught today. I believe justice may be delayed, but it never misses a beat. Criminals will eventually be punished. As I stepped out of the courtroom, I finally knew the truth. Fiona never sought out Walter and Carter for resources. Luna tricked her, signing that shady contract behind her back, when she was just starting out. The wool had been pulled from my eyes. I turned back, and the last person I saw leaving was the plaintiff, Fiona. In the sunshine, she walked firmly out of the courtroom. Yet, to me, at that moment, she shone brighter than the sun above. I smiled with relief, opened my arms, and hugged her tightly. Sister, isn't it time to go home for dinner? Past life sister's story. When the door shut, fear like I'd never known swept over me like a tornado. I started beating on the door like a maniac, but the people inside, they didn't hear. The door was specially made and very soundproof. The villa was eerily silent. It hit me that I needed to call for help, even call the police. So I frantically searched myself for a phone, but when I found it, there was no signal. Walter and Carter had prepared well, installing a jammer in this isolated villa, with no way to call for help. Saving my sister lay squarely on my shoulders. Gone was my usual chilled demeanor. Desperately, I found the kitchen downstairs, grabbed a knife and hammer, and rushed back. I hacked at the door with the knife in one hand and pounded the lock with the hammer in the other. No luck. The door didn't budge an inch. I hadn't realized how much I'd been crying until I saw tears streaming down my face. Time ticked painfully by. I finally broke down crying, banging on the door, begging them to spare Jane. Do what you want to me, I can take it, I pleaded. But it was silent inside. The door too soundproof. They couldn't hear me, and I couldn't hear them. My hands were swollen and bloody from the force of the bouncing door. But I didn't stop. Eventually, holding the knife was too much. So I used both hands and all my strength to smash the door with the hammer. Finally, it opened. I pulled myself up off the floor, red-eyed and frantic, shouting my sister's name. That name I'd always thought was too common to care for much. But now, even if I screamed myself hoarse, the girl who always turned back to smile at me wouldn't answer ever again. She lay there on the floor, her white dress cleaner than an angel's, but stained with red like blooming flowers. Bright red, it pierced my eyes. I couldn't imagine the pain she suffered. My baby sister, who cried at the slightest scratch in the farmland, before she died. It should have been me. I'm the one who lost my mind over getting the role in an audition, stupidly falling into Luna's trap, and in the end, losing the treasure I held most dear. From the corner of my eye, I spotted the perpetrators, Walter and Carter. They seemed unaware Jane had died, thinking she'd simply fainted from shock. They dared to compare Jane to other girls with tasteless jokes. Hatred turned my vision red, a storm of revenge raging in my heart. In that moment, no one understood how much I wanted to butcher these beasts with the knife, chop them to bits. I wanted to feel their pulse under my blade, experiencing the pain Jane did, but 100 times more. But I couldn't do it. In front of two grown men, exhausted from trying to break the door. Trying to fight back was foolish. Not only that, it'd likely result in them retaliating, and I definitely couldn't take them both. Besides, they weren't even the first victims, and these two weren't the masterminds of that vile industry. Behind all of this, there's a much bigger organization running the show, and the middleman is my trustworthy agent, Luna. They use her to traffic naive and innocent girls. One link connects to another. These people stained with Jane's blood. I won't let them get away. even if it kills me. At that moment, Carter and Walter finished their chat and walked over shoulder to shoulder. They saw the girl lying there, unresponsive for quite some time, and immediately sensed something was wrong. They checked her breathing, exchanged a look, and instantly panicked. Noticing me standing in front of the body, they swiftly moved to encircle me from both sides. Walter was the first to threaten, "If you dare talk about what happened here today, I promise I'll do my best to blacklist you in the entertainment industry." Being blacklisted would strip me of all leverage, leaving me powerless. No way, I can't let that happen. At that moment, I buried my hatred deep within my heart. With a glance up, I put on my best performance, pretending to be both shocked and delighted. Great, finally, this scapegoat is dead. Walter, let me tell you, I was so tired of her. She's my twin sister. Luna mentioned before how much we looked alike, and how easy it'd be for people online to dig up dirt on me and steal my spotlight. Now, this troublemaker is finally gone. Walter, Carter, don't worry. I'm glad to see her gone, and will definitely keep this under wraps for you guys. I pretended to be overjoyed. The two exchanged another glance, looking a bit skeptical. To maintain my cover, despite the heartache, I kept raising the stakes. All I wanted was for Walter and Carter to help me get the things I wanted. I raised an eyebrow and smirked slightly. From now on, we're in this together. Just make sure you clean up any evidence and handle my identity documents. That way, I'll officially be an only child. Upon hearing this, Walter and Carter relaxed, smiling with satisfaction. Carter sneered, "As long as you know your place and behave, you'll get what you want." And so began my 5 years of plotting. Thanks to resources provided by Walter and Carter, I rose from being a pretty starlet known for my image to a TV actress, and eventually a movie star. Fans praised my talent and acting skills, but no one knew how many nights I practiced tirelessly, refining my craft. Every time I faced setbacks or mistreatment and felt like giving up, I'd look in the mirror. The face looking back was just like hers. When I started making money, I invested heavily in hiring private detectives to collect the evidence I needed. I racked my brains to hide tiny cameras in brooches, buttons, and hair accessories. With my sharpened acting skills, Walter, Carter, and Luna began trusting me more and more. By the 3rd year, they finally pulled me into their chat group, openly asking me to introduce women to them. For evidence, I sent 2 seemingly naive girls to infiltrate Luna's circle. One of them managed to risk it all to get concrete video proof. By the 4th year, I was a heavyweight actress in the domestic film industry, yet compared to director Walter, I still lacked resources and connections. I had to keep waiting. I waited for those girls who had been harmed to find the courage to stand with me. Within these few years, I transformed completely. My cunning and skills were on a whole new level. Finally, I levered my way into becoming friends with Walter's wife, Nancy. Over a few months, I could tell she despised him and was eager for justice. Eventually, I convinced her to divorce him and join my side. Only then did I learn she had another piece of damning evidence against Walter. Nancy and I teamed up quickly, digging deeper to expose the whole truth. To make sure the masterminds and everyone involved were caught and couldn't escape, I resolved to bring global attention to the case, not just in our country. So, I hastily chose a film script related to the theme of all this, not caring how much I'd have to invest to make it happen. Finally, after all my efforts, success arrived. With my acting skills, I took this film international. In the movie, I played a model who, despite facing horrific abuse, rises above and refuses to give up or surrender her integrity. At the International Film Festival's opening, as I walked the red carpet, with reporters bombarding me with questions, I only answered one. "Sorry, I don't have a sister. I'm an only child." Once I answered, no one stopped me again, and I finally stepped onto the stage to collect my award. At that moment, with cameras from around the world pointed at me, I picked up the microphone and changed the subject with determination. "I'm sorry to tell you all, I'm currently an only child, but I wasn't always. I had a twin sister named Jane. After she passed, I was no longer Fiona, but Jane. I lived for her, awaiting this very day to bring the beasts to justice." As my words echoed, the room erupted. Followers of the evil forces realized something was amiss, and called security to try and subdue me. But a sea of reporters blocked them, preventing any access. Meanwhile, on the big screen behind me, the film scene slowly played. In that moment, the 5-year-old sealed past was unveiled by my hands, raw and devastating. After the story was told, the girls who had been harmed found the courage to step up. They reached out to me, saying they'd testify in court. Meanwhile, Nancy did her part and handed over all the evidence to the authorities. With so many leads, the evidence was irrefutable. Everyone involved was taken into custody. Carter and Walter's reputations were destroyed, and they tried to flee together before the police arrived. But the mercenaries I hired overseas stopped them. Without hesitation, I had them both brought to the small room where Jane died. I vowed that from this day forward, they'd live in misery. Luna and the mastermind were caught, likely to spend their lives in prison. On the day justice was served, I found out I had late-stage depression. I turned to the internet to announce my departure from the public eye, and returned home with my sister's ashes. That night, the rain poured heavily. In my dreams, I vaguely saw mountains blooming with flowers, but in my eyes, they didn't compare to her smile amidst the flowers. I wished that if life gave me another chance, Jane, in another life, I would do everything to protect you. Then, I opened my eyes and was back 5 years ago, in the taxi heading to Walter's villa. Realizing what needed to be done, I quickly grabbed my phone, made up an excuse to lure Luna there, and called a bunch of paparazzi. Jane, this time, your big sister will do everything to protect you. The end.